Sean Combs, known globally as Diddy, is a prominent figure in the music industry. He founded Bad Boy Records, building an entertainment empire. However, Combs now faces serious federal charges. He has entered a plea of not guilty. The trial commenced in early May 2025, capturing public attention. The allegations are severe and the legal battle is expected to be lengthy. The specific charges against Mr. Combs are grave. He is indicted on 1 count of racketeering conspiracy. Additionally, he faces 2 counts of sex trafficking and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. These accusations paint a picture of exploitation and illegal activities spanning a significant period. The federal government rarely brings such charges lightly. The indictment itself speaks to the seriousness with which investigators view the evidence they have gathered. If the prosecution secures a conviction, Sean Combs could face a substantial prison sentence. The potential penalty ranges from a minimum of 15 years to a maximum of life imprisonment. Such a sentence would effectively end his career in public life. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for Combs himself but also for those who have come forward with allegations. This federal case represents a critical juncture. It is a moment where fame and power meet the unyielding demands of the law. For Sean Combs, this trial is more than a legal defense. It is a fight for his freedom and his legacy. The prosecution has presented a formidable case against Sean Combs. They argue Combs used his businesses for criminal purposes. These businesses allegedly served as a front. Prosecutors claim this enterprise facilitated illegal activities. They aim to prove Combs was the leader. His influence was instrumental in these alleged crimes. The pattern of criminal activities dates back to at least 2008. Allegations include severe exploitation of women. Prosecutors contend individuals were coerced into abusive situations. Witnesses described coercive sex parties. Blackmail was allegedly used to control victims. Allegations include violence, kidnapping, and arson. The prosecution paints a picture of a powerful individual abusing his status. They argue Combs leveraged his fame to conceal these acts. The challenge is to connect these acts into a cohesive conspiracy led by Combs. Sean Combs' legal team has mounted a robust defense against the federal charges. A central pillar of their strategy is the argument that all sexual acts involving Combs were consensual. They assert that any interactions were between willing adults. The defense aims to dismantle the prosecution's narrative of coercion and exploitation. They will likely present evidence and testimony suggesting that participants were not forced or manipulated. The defense further contends that the prosecution is unfairly criminalizing Combs' swinger's lifestyle. They argue that his personal life, while perhaps unconventional to some, does not equate to illegal activity. This line of defense suggests that the government is overreaching. While acknowledging Combs' documented violent tendencies, the defense vehemently denies his involvement in sex trafficking or racketeering. They may concede that Combs has a temper or has engaged in aggressive behavior in the past. However, they will argue that these instances are separate from the specific federal charges he faces. Specifically regarding the allegations made by Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend, the defense has a targeted counter-argument. They contend that Miss Ventura was a willing participant in the activities she now describes as coercive. By suggesting Ventura benefited from her association with Combs, the defense seeks to undermine her credibility as a victim. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, commonly known as RICO, is a critical component of the federal case against Sean Combs. This powerful federal statute was enacted to combat organized crime. RICO allows prosecutors to target individuals who are part of a criminal enterprise. It is not limited to traditional mafia-style organizations. The law can be applied to any group of individuals who allegedly conspire to commit a pattern of criminal acts through an enterprise. In this case, the Combs enterprise is the alleged organization, and Sean Combs is accused of leading it. The application of RICO in this specific case is central to the prosecution's strategy. It enables them to connect a wide array of alleged criminal activities under a single umbrella charge. These activities might include sex trafficking, violence, intimidation, and financial crimes, if proven to be part of a larger pattern. RICO allows prosecutors to introduce evidence of various predicate acts, even if some occurred years ago. The goal is to demonstrate a continuous pattern of racketeering activity. For Sean Combs, the RICO charge significantly raises the stakes of the trial as it frames him as the alleged kingpin of a criminal operation. Capricorn Clark, a former assistant to Sean Combs, has emerged as a significant witness for the prosecution. Her testimony provides an insider's perspective on Combs' behavior and alleged activities. Clark worked closely with Combs, placing her in a unique position to observe his actions and interactions. Her decision to testify against her former employer adds a dramatic element to the trial. She recounted several incidents that paint a disturbing picture of Combs' conduct. One of the most striking parts of Clark's testimony involved an incident with musician Kid Cudi in December 2012. Clark stated that Combs, allegedly armed with a gun, forced her to accompany him to Kid Cudi's home. This confrontation reportedly occurred after Combs discovered that his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, was romantically involved with Cudi. Clark testified that Combs threatened to kill Cudi during this encounter. She described feeling petrified and said she informed actress Lauren London of her whereabouts as a precaution, fearing for her own safety. Clark also detailed other alleged violent acts committed by Combs. She testified that Combs kicked Cassie Ventura upon learning of her relationship with Kid Cudi. Clark further described an incident where she was allegedly held on a dilapidated floor and forced to undergo a lie detector test regarding missing jewelry, illustrating an environment of fear and control. Capricorn Clark, a former assistant to Sean Combs, has emerged as a significant witness for the prosecution. Her testimony provides an insider's perspective on Combs' behavior and alleged activities. Clark worked closely with Combs, placing her in a unique position to observe his actions and interactions. Her decision to testify against her former employer adds a dramatic element to the trial. She recounted several incidents that paint a disturbing picture of Combs' conduct. One of the most striking parts of Clark's testimony involved an incident with musician Kid Cudi in December 2012. Clark stated that Combs, allegedly armed with a gun, forced her to accompany him to Kid Cudi's home. This confrontation reportedly occurred after Combs discovered that his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, was romantically involved with Cudi. Clark testified that Combs threatened to kill Cudi during this encounter. She described feeling petrified and said she informed actress Lauren London of her whereabouts as a precaution, fearing for her own safety. Clark also detailed other alleged violent acts committed by Combs. She testified that Combs kicked Cassie Ventura upon learning of her relationship with Kid Cudi. Clark further described an incident where she was allegedly held on a dilapidated floor and forced to undergo a lie detector test regarding missing jewelry, illustrating an environment of fear and control. Cassie Ventura, a singer and Combs' former long-term girlfriend, is a central figure in the case against him. Her allegations form a significant part of the prosecution's narrative of sexual exploitation and abuse. Ventura claims that Combs coerced her into participating in freak-offs, which she described as sex parties involving multiple individuals. She testified that these events were not consensual on her part but were instead mandated by Combs. This testimony directly supports the sex trafficking charges, suggesting that Combs used his power and influence to compel her into sexual acts. Ventura further testified that Combs orchestrated these sex parties and was often physically abusive. She described him as prone to fits of jealous rage, which could escalate into violence. Her testimony detailed specific instances of alleged physical abuse, contributing to the prosecution's portrayal of Combs as a violent and controlling individual. The emotional nature of Ventura's testimony likely had a significant impact on the courtroom. Scott Mescudi, the musician professionally known as Kid Cudi, also provided key testimony in the federal trial against Sean Combs. His statements primarily revolved around his past relationship with Cassie Ventura and the subsequent alleged actions by Combs. Cudi's appearance on the witness stand added another layer of celebrity involvement to the proceedings. He recounted direct confrontations and acts of aggression he attributed to Combs, painting a picture of a man who would go to great lengths to assert control. Kid Cudi testified that Sean Combs broke into his home. This alleged incident, according to Cudi, was a direct consequence of Combs discovering his relationship with Ventura. Cudi described the atmosphere of threat surrounding Combs and his associates. Furthermore, Cudi stated his belief that Combs was involved in the torching or bombing of his Porsche. He testified that this destructive act occurred shortly after Combs became aware of his relationship with Ventura. Cudi interpreted this as a clear act of retaliation designed to punish him and send a message. Beyond the specific testimonies of key witnesses like Capricorn Clark, Cassie Ventura, and Kid Cudi, the trial has also touched upon a wider range of allegations against Sean Combs. These additional claims contribute to the prosecution's effort to establish a pervasive pattern of criminal behavior. For instance, accusations have surfaced that Combs once broke into a rival's home. Other allegations include claims that Combs regularly took ecstasy, a mood-altering drug. More seriously, there are accusations that Combs attempted to intimidate or even bribe potential witnesses. Such actions, if proven, would constitute obstruction of justice and demonstrate a clear effort to unlawfully influence the legal process. The courtroom itself has been the stage for intense legal drama. The trial is characterized by emotional testimonies from those who claim to have been victimized or threatened by Combs. Cross-examinations by Combs' defense team have been rigorous and, at times, confrontational. This adversarial process creates a tense atmosphere as the jury observes the unfolding narrative and weighs the credibility of each person on the stand. As the trial of Sean Combs continues into late May 2025, the prosecution is preparing to call additional witnesses to the stand. These individuals are expected to provide further evidence and testimony to support the charges against the music mogul. Among those anticipated to testify is an officer from the Los Angeles Police Department. This officer may speak to specific incidents or investigations involving Combs that fall within the timeline of the alleged criminal enterprise. An arson investigator from the Los Angeles Fire Department is also slated to appear, likely to provide expert testimony related to incidents like the alleged torching of Kid Cudi's car. The list of upcoming witnesses also includes stylist Deontay Nash. Another significant witness anticipated by the prosecution is a former employee of Combs, identified in reports as Mia. This individual is alleged to be another victim of Combs' conduct. Her testimony could be crucial in corroborating the accounts of other accusers and strengthening the prosecution's claims of a pattern of exploitation and abuse within Combs' sphere of influence. The trial of Sean Combs remains a matter of intense public scrutiny and legal significance.